Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions today, do pop them into comments in the live feed. Intuit QuickBooks has launched a Mindful Tax Kit. Check out the links in the comments for top 10 tips to help you de-stress. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are there on hand 24/7. During the live session, we'll also be running a poll, so please do engage with it, and then I'll share the results at the end. And just before I start, you ought to know, 3rd of March, you can attend Intuit QuickBooks virtual event, QuickBooks Connect, that brings entrepreneurs, small business owners and accountants and developers together to grow, learn and connect with each other. So book into that. So let me tell you who I am. I'm Katy, Howell. I run an independent social media agency that is 17 years old. Yeah, we started when it was all blogs and MySpace, if you can remember that far back. And we've been serious about social for a long time now. Our focus is predominantly on helping brands break the social boring and stand out from the noise so that they can actually deliver results. And that's so one of the things that we do in delivering results is benchmark what does good look like. And so I'm just going to talk for a few minutes before we start answering questions around what is good in social media, what is a good result. And we did a benchmark study at the end of last year that looked at 237 brands, and we asked them a series of questions looking at their social activity. And I think later on the Intuit team will share the link so you can download the whole report, so you don't have to take notes this early in the morning. So these 237 brands shared with us their social activity and where they are so that they can make comparisons. It brought some really interesting findings. First off, and most importantly, 88% of brands said that they are not always able to demonstrate ROI. Wow, what's wrong? Why can't companies see what their return is? How can they not do that? Well, what we uncovered by asking a few more questions is it starts with objectives. A third are not confident that they actually have the right objectives in social media. And only 36%, so only a third of those that we question actually link their objectives to their business outcomes. And that is the key. You can't prove ROI if you're kind of not looking at what the value will be to the business. And if you just constantly link to what I would consider to be soft metrics. What do I mean? I mean sanity over vanity. So vanity metrics are things like followers, likes, engagement, which are all lovely, fluffy. They can be helpful about your content. They're not helpful about your ROI in business. And you need to look at the harder metrics, the things that are actually going to make a difference to your bottom line or that will add value to your business. It might be the value might be in building your brand. It might be on building your CEO up. It could be that it's about managing a crisis. All of these things are value that don't necessarily link straight back to the bottom line, but you do need to think your way through this. And that kind of brings me to the next point, which is for many of those brands that do have objectives, the objective is brand awareness. In fact, 54% of those that filled in that survey said brand awareness matters. And this year, more than any other year, brand awareness is going to be key. And it is really incumbent on anybody running social media that they understand what brand means and why brand purpose is going to be critical this year. Let me explain, because there's some data that's come out really, really recently. So it was analysis done by Visa of consumers, and they asked consumers if they purposefully turned to social apps for shopping. And a fifth of those actually turned their heads to social the minute they started to think about buying. Of Of those that do, 35% cited convenience, so they're doing so because it's easy to shop in feed, and 26%, so almost a quarter of them, actually thought it was quicker to purchase through social. But here's the challenge. Data shows consumers are really disappointed with the goods they receive when shopping via social platforms. 58% of respondents claim they were dissatisfied with their purchase, and 38% were in the process of trying to process a refund or return of such items. Worryingly, more than half said that they failed to check the refund and returns policy of social retailers, and 1/5 say they received a full refund, so a small amount actually got their money back. 88% said that they've been left out of pocket. Now, what that actually is, it kind of means it's kind of like they've been taught now this last year that they are not to trust brands, that not all brands are the same, and quite understandably so. There are lots of people out there, lots of scammers, lots of people without the same kind of ethics and values that I'm sure you all have, who have used social media in which to grab people's cash and then delivered items that are not of a quality. So why does branding matter? Because your positioning matters. And branding is more than just your logo. It is about who you are, as why you are, and what you're offering your customer. What do you live and breathe? And it is really important that you get that across this year, because where trust is declining so rapidly in brands, we need to build it back up again, so that when it comes to them either making a purchase or making a decision to work with you, then that raises that lowers the barrier, and they go in and make the purchase or come and join you. So that means, what does that mean? That means you have to invest much more time in content. Less is more. That it's quality that's going to matter. And I keep saying this: stop throwing stuff out into social media, because you want thumb-stopping content. And it is really important that you slow everything down just a tad enough for you to think consciously about how you're representing your brand and what messages you're getting across. Of course, the biggest challenge is content creation, isn't it? For most of us, trying to manage social is just the endless amount of content that you require. In fact, 34% of those brand marketeers that answered the survey for us said 34% of them said creating content was difficult. A quarter said it was creating enough content. So slow down, plan it out, do less, and put that effort in there. Slowing down will also allow you to experiment with the formats. For instance, live streaming shopping links, which is just flying at the moment. It's kind of been driven by China, but it's flying at the moment. And you can also test and learn various campaigns. So you can try new ideas with smaller budgets and see what the outcomes are. And that might allow you to do things like testing out TikTok, which is for the first time ever, is actually, people are spending more time on TikTok than they are on Facebook. So you might want to consider it. And TikTok is already expanding its shopping features. So again, you might want to run a test to see whether or not your audience is there and busy. So that's kind of a little summary. And as I say, you're very welcome to download the report, and that's got more of the finding and some more advice in there, which talks about things like using paid and why that matters. So let me answer some questions. I'm starting with Ursula from Twitter DM. What are some of the industry trends that you think are going to prevail in a post-COVID world? Oh, that's a great question. I think there's some massive changes. Forget how much time people are spending on social media. There are some massive behavioural changes. The first I've mentioned, which is the lack of trust, that is going to continue. That cynicism and trust is definitely going to continue over the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to be a while before people feel safe, I guess, using brands or working with businesses. There's a mistrust, cynicism that's kind of floating about. The second is a drive for more ethical businesses. So people are looking at the sustainability record. They're looking at diversity of the board. I mean, particularly here in the UK, actually, it's a big thing. And people are buying with purpose, I think is the best way of putting it. We see that. The final trend, of course, is what's happened to us in the last year as a society is that we have all got more digital. Now, there's some of us that, were born with our fingers on keyboards, but there are also people like myself, Gen X, and the baby boomers who are who have now made their way onto social and made their way onto e-commerce, and I don't think that's going to go away as a consequence. So I think there are three fairly cornerstone trends for you, Ursula. Biggest takeaway in 2020, have the events of the year had any effect on the way you look at my business? That's a really lovely question. Yes, because of course, like everybody else, I went into, oh my God, panic mode at the end of March. And went, what's going to happen? Moved out of our offices that we pay a small fortune for. But actually, we've recovered really well. I mean, social has been one of the channels that many brands have turned to. And as a consequence, we had a very good, solid financial year last year with a substantial profit margin. This year, we've already moved into growth and starting to hire again. So I think we're lucky. We're in the digital kind of cusp of everything. So Jan from Facebook Messenger, interesting stats. Do you think shopping on social media will grow? Do you have any advice for a small business owner like myself that doesn't have a huge budget? Shopping will grow. Absolutely. We're lazy buggers. Do you know what I mean? If it's easier to do it in feed and we don't have to go somewhere else, we will do it. So in-channel shopping is growing. And that's what that whole live stream shopping channel that has taken off in China, that is taking off here, is really important, which is people showing the product and you're able to buy the product in the live stream. That is coming without a doubt. If you don't have a lot of budget, get budget. I know that isn't the answer you want to hear, but you are going to have to put everything you can into a paid budget. Social is not free. The whole idea that social can be built organically is a myth perpetrated by consultants who would like you to spend money with them. That is the bottom line. I can't be clearer than that. So sorry, Jan, that probably doesn't help you, but it's good advice, I promise you, without an agenda. Katy from Instagram says, hi, Katy. What would be your top 3 tips for anybody who wants to start their own digital social agency? I'm self-employed at the moment, but thinking of starting my own agency. Great, fantastic, Katy. Do it. Don't fret about it. Don't spend too much time thinking about it. I'd say there's 2 things. First of all, know what you're going to offer. There is a lot in social and you can't do it all alone. Understand what your angle is. There are lots of agencies, not just social agencies, lots of agencies offering social. Excuse me. So understand what you're going to offer. And then learn how to love your clients and love your prospects. We've built our business on paying it forward and giving advice free like we do today. Because my view is if we share the knowledge, most of the people we talk to will go away and do it themselves. But those that can't will come back to us. So we find that what goes around comes around. So, do it with an open heart, Katy, and good luck. Shawcat on Facebook live feed. Do you think social media marketing was easier when there was low population and demand on social media apps, or now that it's overpopulated and competitive in most markets? That's a really interesting question. No, I don't think it was easier. It was tougher because we had to justify it more to brands. So we had to explain to brands why this smaller audience mattered. And then now our biggest challenge, of course, is that it's very competitive for brands. And so as a creative agency, we have to create more standouts, more attention, and grabbing that attention. So it's a really much more challenging environment. But do you know what? Sure, I love a challenge, in case you didn't know that. Anybody who knows me knows that. It's boring. Doing the same old every day would be really boring. So the beauty of social is it is challenging. It is difficult. It does change. The formats and the algos change all the time. But that's what makes it an adventure. It means that in marketing, I have to stay on my toes. And you know, I've been doing marketing for 30 odd years. How does it keep my interest? Because it keeps changing. So, you know, there are pros and cons to both sides. Suzanne from Instagram, channel agnostic or channel specific. What are your thoughts on the approach from this strategy point of view? Okay, good one, Suzanne. Right, channels. Who cares? Because the only thing you should worry about is your audience and where they are. So don't think about a channel strategy, think about an audience first strategy. So your strategy behavior should work in the start with understanding your audience. Start with that bit, which is what are they talking about? Where are they playing? What are they interested in? Where are they? Once you understand where they are, then you can develop a channel strategy. So it's never about saying, should I be on TikTok? Should I be on Instagram? Look at where your audience is. You know, if you are targeting Gen X, you may find that they're not active on Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat. They are actually, but not in vast numbers. If you're targeting youngsters, you may also find that they're quite happy to do a duet on TikTok, but they're not interested in buying and they have no disposable income. So you need to think about your audience deeply. None of those, by the way, are answers to any of this because it's too broad a question. And then you start to think about what is right for that channel. So, you know, TikTok is very obvious, but even in social media, when it comes to Facebook, there are certain things that fly in Facebook, instant experiences, for instance, that are doing better. LinkedIn, at the moment, LinkedIn carousels do very well, but that changes all the time. You need to understand the way and the language and the tonality of each separate channel that your audience is on and why that audience is there. What are they looking for? Not what every audience is looking for, your audience. So it's really important. Great question. Thank you. Raphael from Facebook Messenger says, what is the amount of money that a small business should invest in ads and promotions? I run a small ice cream parlor and have been selling online with Uber Eats. Well done, Raphael. Been a really terrifically tough year for you. I hope things get better soon and you can open up your ice cream parlor. Spend is really, really difficult. And the reason is everything in social is about bid price. So if everybody who sells insurance or sells ice cream is advertising, the cost of advertising goes up. If no one is targeting that audience, you get them at fairly low prices, like a penny. So in which case, you know, £100 goes quite far. But if everybody is out there advertising into that market, which I suspect with ice cream is pretty high, given that you're up against the heavyweights like Haagen-Dazs, they will throw budget behind it to target your audience. So you need to be really clever. It's about understanding your volumes in terms of spend against the audience you've got. So I would suggest, Raphael, that you limit your paid to a certain location. So don't compete with the whole of the United Kingdom against Haagen-Dazs, but make it small and local, make your advertising focused on the small and local, get your creative top notch. Once you're at that stage, then what you should do is experiment. And anybody who's good at maths will know that I'm going to start talking about a logarithmic scale. So if you plot how much you're spending and then how much reach and impact that's having over, say, various spends, you'll hit a ceiling. And that ceiling will be where spending more actually gets you no more. So there's no more value in it. And really, that's what we do at Speed. But you can do it slowly over the next 3 to 6 months. You can do it slowly, which is experiment. Say, this month I'm going to spend £50, and this month I'm going to spend £100. That I just cannot answer you with a really straightforward, this is how much you should spend, because each audience and each platform is different. Sorry, Raphael. So Mitch from Instagram says, how can I provide ROI for my social efforts? All the metrics I track are termed as vanity by the management. Good question, Mitch. So what you need to do is start by go to management and say, what is it you want to achieve by being on social? What is it they want to achieve? So is it more sales, although that has to be fairly the most boring thing ever, because proof in terms of sales is very difficult unless you're just only selling through social media, because then are you selling through search? Are you selling through your website? Are you selling through other things? So you need to say, what portion of social do you want to see a contribution for? Is it about reach? Is it what matters to the business? What adds value? Where does social start? By asking them what they want to achieve by being on social, or what their bigger, broader marketing objectives are. And only then do you play back then the metrics back to them. So you might say, well, it is link clicks to websites that I'm going to track, but I'll track it and compare it with A, benchmark data that I can find online from other brands, and B, I'm going to track it against other channels. So I will track it against SEO, for instance. So SEO and PPC are driving this. However, you need to also remember that SEO and PPC are bottom of the funnel, so people are closer to the sale, the intent to purchase is nearer, whereas you're top of funnel and you're driving traffic out of interest. And so what you need to do is understand how to explain those numbers back. The vanity metrics do have value for you. So those are the engagement metrics, the comments, the likes, the followers. They do have a set followers, not so much. Followers are pointless in this day and age because everything is paid. So the bit that really matters to you is going to be understanding what content is resonating and being shared, because obviously that's amplification. So those vanity metrics that people often use as business metrics are really there to support you understanding what content works for your client, but they are not business metrics. So always start with the business, what the business wants, and work your way back from that. Bit difficult, Mitch, without understanding exactly where that scenario would lie. Ruth from Facebook Messenger says, how can we better understand the habits of our customers on social, and how can we use the data to make the content that they value? Great question, Ruth. So we use a tool like Brandwatch, which goes away and listens. For many small businesses, Brandwatch is too expensive, but you can use tools like Sprinkler or Sprout, which will give you some analysis, as will Hootsuite will give you a little bit of analysis. But if you were to earmark a day or two to spend looking at who's following you, looking at who's following your competitors, looking at what people are talking about, doing some searches in Twitter, some hashtag searches in Instagram, fairly quickly, if you were to note it down, you'd begin to get a feeling. It's much harder, and it is just a feeling, and it isn't data quantitative, but it is qualitative data that will give you a feeling as a small business as to how best to approach them. So it's not quite as tangible as qualitative data, but definitely it will help you to understand what's of interest. The other thing is, by the way, tools like Brandwatch in particular will give away a lot for free on their website. So do go and do a bit of desktop research, because you would be surprised at how much insight actually is sitting out there, particularly looking at the mega trends. So definitely have a look at those. Katrina from Instagram says, hi Katy, how is paid social different from my performance marketing? So paid social is, while you can run it as performance, tends to have less impact. And the main reason is that you have to do the awareness attention piece. It's a much more rounded channel. You know, people's their purpose for going onto social is very different from PPC. When I go to PPC, I go, I want to buy a new pair of jeans. I go in there and I type in either jeans because that's what I want, or I type in, you know, whatever shop, you know, ASOS, whatever, you know, that I want to go to because I like their jeans. If when I'm in social, I'm just, you know, pootling along, putting pictures up of my dog, which is what I generally do, and chatting to people, and Instagramming pictures from my dog walks or whatever it is. I'm not paying attention. So when the ad appears, it's got to grab my attention, it's got to distract me from my purpose, and then it's got to push the sale. And generally, those three things, that journey is never that short. Okay, not unless what you're selling is pennies, not pounds. And so what tends to happen is that you need to watch in your performance marketing with paid. You need to watch what happens to the other channels. So what we see frequently is our ads go out. We see people following all the journeys, clicking on the link, making the purchase. But we also see people search demand increase. We see footfall increase. And in reality, social has a much bigger part to play in building the brand, building the case for the product or service, and driving that traffic through. So it is much more of a full funnel opportunity. So when you think of it in terms of performance, don't make performance just about the sale. So Jamila from Twitter DM says, and I think Jamila is probably going to be my final question because we're running out of time. My word, you've been busy today. What are the fundamental principles on which a social media strategy for a small business should be based on? I'm doing everything myself for my business and eager to learn, but I don't know much about marketing and social media. Oh, Jamila, that's a big one. I'll tell you what, teaching a Kim qualified marketing course in 5 minutes might be a bit beyond me. But here's the thing. Here's what I'd probably do is, first off, understand who your audiences are. Because there won't be just one big vanilla type audience. Break them down. Different versions, different reasons for buying. That's what intent means. Start with your audience. Then on top of that, layer your objectives. What do you want to achieve? And I mean really smart objectives. By when? How do you want to build relationships with those people? Do you want to build loyalty programs? Do you want to drive attention? What is it you're trying to achieve and why? And how does that have business value to you? And only then do you go and look at where they're then playing in those channels, and then you look at those channels. Part of that exercise of building strategy is also about pulling in operational strategy. So your operational strategy should be, if you're doing it all yourself, how much time should you spend in it? So I'd ask yourself those questions. That's what strategic thinking is. It's asking lots of questions of yourself. So I hope that helps, Jamila, but it is a little bit everywhere. So I'm going to wrap up now. Before we finish, let me tell you about the poll stats. The question was, are you optimistic about your business growth in 2021? And 100% of you said yes. Yay. I am too. I mean, it's too late, early in the year for us to be thinking about bad things. Yeah, we have a full 11 months ahead of us right now. Next week, so thank you. I really appreciate it. If you want to contact me, you can DM me on LinkedIn. I'm Katy Howell, or you can get me on Twitter at Katy Howell, or you can go to our website, which is immediatefuture.co.uk. Excuse me. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Judith Dugdale, who heads up the digital solutions team at MHA Moore and Smalley. I nearly said Stanley there, to make it up. The practice is an elite Intuit QuickBooks partner, and tomorrow morning Judith will speak about, dare I say it, Brexit, and what to think about when selling to the EU. So really, it sounds like I might tune in myself, actually. It's a fantastic session. Don't forget to join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB group on Facebook, and also the Mindfulness Tax Kit that you'll just find in the comments now. Have a fantastic day, everyone. It's hump day, so we're already halfway through the week. Enjoy.